One more concept we'll see, that is buffered reader and buffered writer. What is the use of file reader and file writer? File reader and file writer is used for reading and writing characters. So you're going to use file reader for reading in characters and file writer for writing characters. So buffered reader can be used along with the file reader. So buffered reader is nothing but a buffer that we are going to create. It's for a performance factor. Likewise, while you are writing using file writer, you can use a buffered writer, so that your program writes to the buffer. From the buffer, the file writer will be called to write the characters to the file. Now let's see how we can use buffered reader and buffered writer. For this, I'll use a file, and I'll create a file object. File f is equal to new file. The new file, I'll call this file to be output.txt. That's my file object. Now I can create a buffered writer. So how to create a buffered writer is, you create an object, new object you create, and you call that buffered writer, and we can call that bwrite, something like that. And what is that buffered writer is going to do is, internally it's going to use a file writer. So you create a file writer object, new file writer, and this file writer will use the file object. So our program is going to write to the buffer. The buffered writer will in turn use a file writer to write to the file. That's the meaning. So f here denotes the file object. What we'll do now is, we'll write a simple character to the file. For that, we'll use the buffered writer object bwrite.write, and then you can write a character. Say 115 is the character we are going to write. After we writing, we'll close that buffered writer bwrite.close. So in your examinations, please ensure that you're closing the readers and writers immediately after you finished using them. Next is, you'll use a buffered reader to read this character. For that, you create an object, you create buffered reader, and I'll call that bread. And here it uses a file writer. Here it uses a file reader. So you create a new file reader object, and this file reader will internally use a file object. Next, what we are going to do is bread.read that character in. So this is going to read 115 as the value, which is of type integer. So you are reading that character. We can display that character by typecasting that to char, and we'll print the data out. Finally, we will close. That's it. Now let's run this. So we have written yes. 115 is the value corresponding to lowercase s. And when we read that specific 115 back, it's displayed as yes. So you can use buffered writer and buffered reader along with file reader and file writer. Not only that, you can do a lot of things. You can write a string. Say if I want to write a string, I can write Satish. And how to read a string? You can read the string as bread.readLine. So there is a read line thing which will read in a string. And this is string data, and you can directly populate that data out. So this Satish is a string which you have written and read from the file. You can also read and write an array of characters. See how to read and write an array of characters. For that, I can declare an array of characters like this. So let's declare an array of characters A, B, C, something, some array of characters we can declare. And now if you want to write the array of characters, you just give the array name. So this array is written to the file. Next, if you want to read the array of characters, what is that you have to do first is, you should create a character array. Character k is equal to new character, and it will read 4 characters. So that's the array I will read. And how will I read the data? So it's bread.read. You read an array of characters. So this array is k. How to print all the characters now? For that, what we will do is, we will use an enhanced for loop. For every character v from this array k, what I will do is sys out v. So we have written an array of 4 characters, read in 4 characters, and we are printing that array back to the user. So ABCD, you can see, is the output. Is this clear? So there are some variations to this method, like you can write an offset from the array to the file, read an offset from the array from the file, all these things. There's one more thing I want to teach you, how to read in a file containing many lines. Say for instance, Satish teaches Java. This is my output file. I directly type here, Satish teaches cybersecurity. I want to read every line from the file. Satish also teaches web programming. So I want to read every line from the file. Now how to read that? So for this, maybe we'll take a look at buffered reader alone. We don't need a buffered writer. So we'll have a buffered reader here, and we'll delete this. So how will you read line by line from the file? For that, maybe we need a string line. We'll say string line, and we need a while loop. So while, what is the condition here is, while we are reading every line using bread dot read line, so this not equals null. So until you reach null, you're going to read sys out, you're going to print the lines to the user. That's it. It's a simple while loop we are using. Like what we have done with other file reads, we are using the same kind of a thing here. Let me delete this. So what should be the output here? Satish teaches Java, teaches cybersecurity, Satish teaches web programming. So you should know how to read an entire file into your program, so that if they ask you to process something, count the number of words in the file, replace an existing word with another word in the file. For that you can use string handling operations. Are you now clear with buffered reader and buffered writer? You'll be able to use buffered reader and buffered writer in your code, right? Okay.